Hi, this is Jonathan Kutsevetsky. I'm with Marcy and Madeleine from ATSC, and we're going to have a nice conversation about what ATSC is and the impact it has on the industry. So, Madeleine, please tell me about yourself and what ATSC does.
Thanks. Well, my name's Madeleine Noland, as you mentioned, president of ATSC, the Broadcast Standards Association. And as our name suggests, we write standards for actually over-the-air broadcast. Traditionally, it's been over-the-air broadcast for television services, but the newest system, ATSC 3.0, is capable of doing television services and much more because it's an IP-based delivery system. So you can deliver files, you can deliver education materials, you can deliver software updates to cars, anything you want that you could send over IP over the internet, you can now send over broadcast over the air using the television infrastructure. And by the ways, you can also send linear television, just the way we always know and love it. So it's a pretty interesting standard, and we're very, very excited about it and as it's being deployed in various countries around the world.
Great. Could you give us a little bit about a history of ATSC and how it came to be, and what is the actual needs for broadcasters?
Sure. So ATSC was actually born more than 40 years ago. We had our 40th anniversary party in 2023. So we were founded in 1983. And we were originally founded when along came this crazy thing called cell phones. And it was recognized that it would be important for television broadcasters to give some of the spectrum in the upper bands where they're currently operating over to this new burgeoning industry that cell phones might be all about. And so the US government said, well, we should go from analog signals to digital signals so that broadcasters can do everything they're doing today, but they can do it in less spectrum. And then we're going to allow some of this upper band spectrum to go over to the new mobile industry. So they founded ATSC, which is a sort of a group of the NAB, CTA, throwing acronyms at you, SIMPTE, IEEE, and NCTA. Those are the 5 founding sort of organizations of ATSC. And ATSC was born to develop the new digital television standard, which now has what we call a backronym. It's now sort of retrospectively called ATSC 1.0. ATSC 1.0 came out when cell phones were about the size of bricks and mostly people had them in their cars. It came out when VHS tapes were all the rage. And we had the internet, which was very cool. You would dial up your phone and you'd put it into this acoustic coupler. And that was the kind of technology that was out and about when ATSC 1.0 was born. Very successful standard. It's been operating for many, many years and been working very well for broadcasters. But given its age, it was time for an upgrade. And so ATSC 3.0 is the latest and greatest.
How do you see the development of ATSC 3 in terms of like where it is in that spectrum between creation of the standard and actual implementation of the standard, both in the US and worldwide?
Yeah, thanks. It's a terrific question. First of all, I just want to say that myself included and the membership of ATSC 3 is extremely proud of this particular system. It is truly the state of the art in the world. It came out, the physical layer came out in 2013, and it has yet to be eclipsed. It's a terrific, terrific standard. It works beautifully. And in fact, we'll get into the global deployment in a few minutes, but the Brazilians decided to spend almost 4 years absolutely testing the heck out of all the systems that were available. And after they tested in the lab and they tested in the field and they had hundreds and hundreds of pages of test metrics and all these things they wanted the system to be able to do, and they picked ATSC 3. So if anybody who's considering ATSC 3 is wondering if they have the best standard in the world, they do. Still, I don't know when it's going to be eclipsed. The Japanese are working on a standard which is also excellent. And DVB-T2 is very good. It's about 10 years older than ATSC 3, but they're not really working on a 3rd generation. So, ATSC 3 is a darn good system that I think is going to pay dividends for many, many years. But of course, having a terrific system is totally different from getting it rolled out into the field. ATSC3 was first rolled out in South Korea in 2017, and they were able to get Ultra HD pictures on the air, commercially available in time for the 2018 Winter Olympics, which were hosted in South Korea. Second was the USA, and the USA started deployment in 2020. Little did we know that a pandemic was coming, but nonetheless, we started in 2020. And up to now, roughly, I want to say 80% of households are in a DMA that has at least one ATSC 3.0 service. There's a lot of asterisks next to that, but at the moment, roughly 80% of the country has access to an ATSC 3 service in the United States. After that came Jamaica, and they have ATSC 3 up in all parishes of the island. Trinidad and Tobago has already announced that they will be launching, and they have their pilot stations up. And of course, the latest is Brazil, which is moving very, very quickly on their implementation. Just like the South Koreans, they have a particular goal in mind. South Koreans care about the Olympics. The United States people care about NFL football. The Brazilians care about European football, or FIFA, also called soccer. And the FIFA World Cup is next year. Very, very, very big deal in Brazil. And they want this new system on the air commercially in time for the World Cup.
And what are the benefits that they're hoping to realize from the implementation, just specifically for the World Cup, for example?
That's a terrific question. And in fact, it's a big question, because when the question came up about, well, what was this 1.0 thing and how did you guys come to be? With 1.0, it was a spectrum reclamation project, right? And so that was one of the main goals. And so anybody who cared about the spectrum reclamation was all behind ATSC 1.0. And so that included the government that was going to be auctioning off the spectrum, the new mobile network operators. It included not so much the TV guys. I mean, they were excited about a new system that could do WOW HD. But, you know, it was a heavy lift for them. But nonetheless, there it was. With ATSC 3.0, it's kind of a different thing. Yes, people want more spectrum efficiency. And in fact, in the United States, ATSC 3.0 is estimated to have about 500% more capacity than ATSC 1.0. And so you have these opportunities. But the question you asked is, why ATSC 3.0? Well, certainly it's time for an upgrade, if for no other reasons than defensive reasons. We have the streamers out there who are doing HDR and 4K. And we have streamers out there who are doing on-demand content, easily discoverable content. And the broadcasters felt that it was going to be important for them to be able to offer those same quality services in order to maintain their presence in the marketplace as a media and entertainment source.
And for the consumer, so we understand they're going to get a better picture, better sound quality. But what about personalization or interactivity or advanced advertising, like as you were mentioning? Can you develop that a little bit more?
Absolutely. On the consumer's point of view, as you say, is better pictures, better sound, more interactivity, and more accessibility. And interestingly, when Pearl TV, for example, went out and did a bunch of consumer research before we really dug into ATSC 3.0 in earnest, they asked consumers what they really wanted. What is the killer app on TV? And the truth of the matter is the killer app is, in fact, TV. Number one, better pictures. Number two, better sound. Number three, interactivity, personalization, and you know. So what they're looking for is they're looking for that television experience that is just a click above what they're accustomed to on traditional broadcast. We also have some leaders who can teach us a little bit about what people really like. For example, in Europe, they've had a very strong interactive television system for many years, and they've tried a lot of different things. And the fact of the matter is, what works the best in Europe for an interactive opportunity is what you call start over TV. The notion that, hey, I just tuned into the local news and I was 10 minutes late. Do you want to start the local news from the beginning? Yes, please. And you just click a button and wham, you're watching from the beginning again. Of course, that's a hybrid OTA, OTT kind of situation where you seamlessly switched from live over the air to on demand over the top. But as a consumer, you didn't know that you made that switch. You didn't have to go into your TV menu and change inputs and all this stuff. But, you know, some of the things that's happening, for example, at PBS New Mexico with the new accessibility features are extremely important to a wide variety of people. One of the things that they're working with is the audio system, which is capable of carrying a wide variety of languages, as is the closed caption system. So in today's ATSC 1.0, you can have the primary audio and the secondary audio. Sometimes you might want to use the secondary audio for another language, or maybe you want to use it for video descriptive services, but you can't do both at the same time. You have to pick one or the other. And if you wanted the video descriptive services in another language, well, that's right out. So now with ATSC 3, you can have the primary program in many, many languages, and then you can have video descriptive services in many, many languages. And the other great thing is that with ATSC 1.0, typically the second audio program is in stereo or even mono. And the primary program is going to be definitely stereo and half of the time surround sound. With ATSC 3, all of the audio programs can be in high quality multi-channel surround sound, or whatever the quality is that you want to put out. So that's all very good. And PBS New Mexico, KNME, is already working on these types of things. They have a Navajo Nation there. Not an easy language. Now that we have AI, we can start doing some of these things more regularly with ATSC 3.
One of the distinguishing characteristics in my mind between broadcast TV and the streamers and the OTT platforms is that they do still have this concept of being a public service and providing a public service to their viewers, to their audience. And I was wondering if you might want to dive in a little bit more to the areas in which ATSC 3 does enable sort of local and hyper-local service of the community that, around the station. And also, and maybe even part of that might be some of the security aspects and capabilities, but maybe emergency alerting and maybe the security aspects.
Sure. So I think that there's a lot packed into there.
Yeah.
When it comes to the public service, I think we can think about local broadcasting as number one, they're part of the community. They care about their community. A large national or multinational OTT streaming platform is not really about community. They're about the big picture, the sort of really mass market, like it's in global mass market. What's happening in Chicopee, Massachusetts is not of high interest to a company like Netflix, but it is of high interest to the local broadcasters that are here in Massachusetts. So yeah, absolutely. The local news is extremely important. And I think the thing that we have to remember is that local news is not that easy to produce. You cannot produce this, on a shoestring. You got to have, a real team out there in the community collecting the news, putting it together in a way that's entertaining and informative. And in order to do that, we have to have decent, strong revenue. So when we think about the opportunities for local news, I think what we're really trying to do is enable our broadcasters from the local news point of view to keep doing what they're doing as well as they're doing it, if not even better. So ATSC 3.0 can potentially assist the local news platform by allowing people to access those segments on demand and be able to mix and match their own news to make it kind of personalized. But when it comes to really empowering the broadcasters to continue serving their community that way, I think the big thing that ATSC 3 brings is the opportunity to develop new revenue streams. The other thing that I think is really important is the emergency messaging system. In the United States, we have EAS, Emergency Alert Service, which is a very specific thing. It's the crawl on the bottom of your screen, followed by the tones and all these things. And that's a requirement in ATSC 1.0. And of course, everybody's doing it in 3.0 also. But on top of that, we have something called the Advanced Emergency Information System, which is the 3.0 addition to that. To be very clear, advanced emergency information is not mandated by the FCC for the broadcasters or the television set manufacturers to deal with, but it is available and people are working with it. Key things for the regular consumer audience is that, number one, you can dismiss or bring back a message. So once you got it, I got it. I don't need to see the school closings anymore because I don't have kids. Or, yes, there's a hurricane coming in 4 days. I got it. You can dismiss it. But then 3 days later, it's like, well, what's going on? You can recall it and bring it back up on your screen. So it's very interactive. It also allows viewers to decide, hey, these are the kinds of alerts and information that I'd like to get most, and these are the ones that I'm less interested in. So some people might, want to know, hey, if there's a cat stuck up a tree, I want to know. Other people might say, gee, you know what? If the tsunami is not coming to my house tomorrow, I don't want to know. So you can have these kinds of personalizations. You can also personalize it by location. It's like, I want to know what's going on near my house, near my kid's school, near my spouse's workplace, all these different things that you might want to know. You can have that kind of personalization as well. You can also deliver the emergency messaging in multiple languages, including multiple languages of closed captions. So again, really focusing on the accessibility piece. And finally, you can drill down into an emergency message. Something's happening. Okay, I got it, dismiss, or I want to learn more. Show me the evacuation route. Show me where the shelters are. Show me where I can access clean water. All these kinds of things are available kind of on demand as the viewer wishes to access them. So it's a very rich system. There's one other key to it, though, which I think is really important, which is that the system can send these kind of public messages that I've been describing, but it's also capable of communicating with a private audience. Primarily what we think about is the first responders. So there's information that we need to get to the firefighters, the police force, the EMS force, all of those things that we may not necessarily need for the general public to know. And that's also possible with ATSC 3.0. Circling back to what you started with is, what does this system really do and what is it all about? I think it's also important for everybody to remember that ATSC 3.0 and NextGen TV are not synonymous. NextGen TV, linear TV, is a part of ATSC 3.0 and all it can do. And we watch what's happening, for example, in Calgary, where they're using ATSC 3.0 for everything but linear TV. They're using it for distance education. They're using it for getting public information out to digital signage. They're using it for communicating with emergency management professionals. They're doing all those things, which is very interesting. And then you look at this country and you look at the formation of the company called EdgeBeam Wireless, which is bringing together Scripps, Gray, Nexstar, and Sinclair. Boy, what a power quartet that is. And again, they're looking on developing use cases beyond linear TV. And so from ATSC's point of view, we really need to see that big picture. There is NextGen TV, which is a critically important thing in the United States, but there's also the whole sort of diaspora, if you will, of non-linear television services and non-US services. So we're sort of busy with that sort of 360 and working to ensure that our messaging is respondent to different countries' needs and is also on target for what's needed in the United States for next steps here.
Madeleine, thank you so much for educating us on ATSC 3.0. It's revolutionary, and we learned about the benefits, about security, and about what it can do for the consumer. Thank you very much, and we hope we can have another conversation coming up at NAB or at IBC next year.
Well, many thanks to Dalet. Thank you, both of you, and really appreciate the opportunity.